Minister of Youth John Nsengemana, the Minister of Defense General James Kabarebe, General Kayonga, Chief of the Defense Staff of the Rwandan Armed Forces, General Cesar, Chief of the General Defense Staff, Ann Casper, Chargé d'Affaires of the American Embassy in Rwanda, General Carter Ham, Commander of the United States Africa Command, Mr. Carl Wyckoff, Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Defense, His Excellency Boubacar Diarra, Special Representative of the African Union for Somalia, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Africa Center for Strategic Studies workshop on preventing radicalization, youth radicalization in East Africa. My name is Mark Bellamy. I'm the director of the Africa Center for Strategic Studies, and it's a great pleasure to welcome you here today. I want to extend a thank you. Thank you. That wasn't meant as an applause line, but thank you. I want to extend a special word of thanks to the government of Rwanda for its warm hospitality and for co-hosting this workshop. I want to thank the American Embassy here in Kigali for its support. And I especially want to thank our partners, the Department of State, the Department of Defense, represented by Africa Command, and the U.S. Agency for International Development for supporting and for participating in this important event. This conference has its origins in a project that the Africa Center launched last year in Dakar, Senegal, where we brought together a diverse group of African officials, experts, and community leaders and activists, a group that is not much different than this group, not much different than all of you, to try to analyze and understand the driving forces behind violent extremism in Africa. That conference was so successful based on the feedback that we received from participants that we decided to move to East Africa and replicate it, but with a slightly different thematic focus. After our Dakar discussions, we determined that we needed to concentrate more on youth and youth radicalization, and hence the subject of this workshop. You'll all hear a lot of talk in coming days about demographic trends in Africa, and specifically about the youth bulge, and about Africa's place as the youngest continent in the world. You will discuss the risks and opportunities that exist when 60% or even 70% of a country's population is under the age of 35, as is the case across much of Africa, including in many of the nations represented in this room. From a security standpoint, we know that violent extremist organizations cease to exist if they cannot recruit and develop youthful adherents. Young people are the lifeblood of violent extremist organizations. And so it is important to understand how youth are vulnerable to extremist recruitment, how that process takes place, how youth are radicalized. This knowledge is vital to developing strategies to counteract radicalization, especially in its early stages. One lesson we learned in Dakar was how mistaken we often are when we try to pin down so-called root causes of radicalization. I was particularly struck by our finding that socioeconomic conditions, poverty, unemployment, lack of development, do not of themselves count for much in turning people towards extremism. Cultural factors and personal relationships are probably bigger influences in pushing or pulling individuals into extremist organizations. You will have ample opportunities to explore these and other arguments in your plenary and group discussions. And I am sure that you will also discover that there is no one-size-fits-all explanation for Africa. Youth radicalization differs from country to country. Local contexts matter a great deal. And that's why it's so important to bring together different country and cultural perspectives, as we have at this workshop. Another lesson that we carry over from Dakar is that understanding and preventing radicalization is too complex and too important to be left in the hands of governments alone to achieve. Few, if any, governments, African or non-African, have the resident expertise, the capabilities, or even the right perspective to counter radicalizing trends in their countries. Hence, the need to reach out to civil society, to community-based groups, to religious bodies, to youth groups, and to many other non-governmental actors. Without strong partnerships between governments and key civic actors, youth radicalization and extremist recruitment will be very hard to address. Too often, we see governmental approaches to radicalization that are belated, poorly targeted, and heavy on repression. These approaches always carry the risk of generating more radicalization than they prevent. And that's why we have insisted on bringing together a broad sample of African actors here, governmental and non-governmental alike, to participate in this workshop. We have assembled for you what I believe is a very good lineup of speakers and presenters and discussion moderators, and I very much look forward to the results of your discussions over the next few days. Once again, welcome to Kigali, and it's a pleasure to see all of you, and a pleasure to be here today to launch this workshop. Thank you very much.